Primary ignition.
This is the way.
What is up, all of you Ugnaughts and Jawas out there, and welcome back to another episode of Mando Talk and the second edition of my Mando Rewatch series, where I revisit episodes of Din Djarin and Grogu's journey to prepare myself and you, the listener, for the upcoming Season 3 of The Mandalorian. In this episode, we are rewatching chapters 3 and 4 of The Mandalorian. But before we begin, of course, I've got my bounty instructions that I always remind our listeners and viewers of. Subscribe to our YouTube channel if you have not done so already for more Star Wars content, including trailer reactions, news videos that we call Razor Crest Rundowns, and so much more. Also, we're on our podcast platforms, We've got Spotify, Apple, Amazon, Google, and wherever you get your podcasts, really. On all those platforms, please rate us 5 stars and subscribe to us there for convenient audio-only listening whenever life has you busy. Now, before we actually get into chapters 3 and 4, we have some Mandalorian news that we actually need to discuss first. So I'm always going to do that as we're doing this rewatch series. As there's important news that comes out and I feel the need that I need to talk about it, we'll definitely pause before getting into the rewatch and we'll talk about those news pieces. So we got a bunch here, actually, some pretty relative and important news that we need to consider as we're gearing up for Season 3. Here's some of the news. Season 3 will premiere on March 1st exclusively on Disney+. It is currently unclear if the season's going to premiere with one episode like The Mandalorian has done in the past, but recently, obviously, Lucasfilm has been releasing multiple episodes on its premiere, as recently with Obi-Wan Kenobi and Andor. So it's unclear what they're going to do. I know my personal preference is one episode just because it allows The Mandalorian to breathe. It gives it its full 8 episodes, 2 full months of people talking about The Mandalorian week to week. And yeah, it's great to get multiple episode premieres, but I also like, Star Wars being at the forefront as long as possible. So that's my preference, but we'll see on that. I love the decision of the March 1st release date. I think it's an easily marketable release date, and it's also, of course, continuing the Wednesday release date tradition that they're starting on Disney Plus for Star Wars. Next news piece, Jon Favreau at CCXP, I guess that's a fan, convention or something like that, has said the season will be bigger in scope than previous seasons with more space battles, more Mandalorians, and other surprises. That's hard to believe. It's hard to believe that it's going to be bigger in scope. I know that from the trailer that we've gotten, the teaser trailer, we've seen space battles, we've seen more Mandalorian, so I believe that. It's hard for me to believe that there's going to be even bigger and other surprises based off of Season 2, but we'll definitely see, and honestly, I fully trust them, so can't wait for that. Great teasing there by Jon Favreau himself. Those attending the CCXP event were also treated to some concept art. I won't dive into that as far as maybe you're trying to avoid spoilers, but I'm sure that stuff is out there online if you are interested. A new trailer was released at the Disney APAC showcase last week. It is reported that more of Bo-Katan and new glimpses of Mandalore were featured. Can't wait to potentially see this trailer, hopefully soon. A list of writers for the season has been announced by the official WGA website, revealing the season will feature 8 episodes like the seasons that have come before it, so that was great to see. Jon Favreau is credited with writing or co-writing every single one of those chapters. That's awesome. And then we got Noah Clore, who is credited with writing episode 3. Noah was a staff writer for all episodes of the Book of Boba Fett, so maybe it's possible that Boba Fett's that's getting in the mix with Chapter 3, or they're probably not referencing these as Chapter 3s. I guess we're starting off with Chapter 17 at this point, so that would be 17, 18, Chapter 19 would be Noah Clore's episode. Maybe Boba Fett gets in the mix because of his connection with writing for that character for the series The Book of Boba Fett. And then, of course, Dave Filoni. He's credited with writing episodes 4 and 7, so maybe some Ahsoka Tano stuff, some connections to that Ahsoka series, maybe even setting up that series. We'll see. But yeah, there's all the news pieces that we've gotten just this past week alone for The Mandalorian Season 3. It's starting to gear up, starting to brew. We've got 3 months left. 3 months left until Season 3, and I cannot wait. Of course, this Mando Rewatch is designed to continue to get us ready for that, and this Mando Rewatch is going to walk us all the way to it. So like I said earlier, subscribe, rate us, do all the things that you need to do to make sure that we pop up on your feeds wherever you listen to us, so you can continue to be in the mix regarding news and gearing up for The Mandalorian Season 3. But now let's get into our rewatch portion, where we're now ready for Chapter 3 and Chapter 4. I'm kind of already re-gearing up regarding what my expectations with each of these rewatches is going to be. I don't necessarily want to recap and review and run down the episode because you've seen the episode. What I'm rather going to focus on is there something that I see that could possibly connect to Season 3, and we'll leave it at that, because I really think that's what we're here for regarding this rewatch series, is what from Chapter 3 or what from Chapter 4 could carry over into this new story that we are soon going to see. So with that down and out of the way, we're now ready for Chapter 3, which was titled The Sin. This episode features many references to key Mandalorian cultural values, at least values by this specific Mandalorian guild hiding on Navarro, and with recent comments by Favreau, we just talked about them, and shots from the trailer expanding on this, is single-handedly the most exciting part for me regarding the upcoming season. The Mandalorian culture stuff, I know we've gotten it in Clone Wars, we got it a lot in Rebels, and of course, obviously now we're getting it a lot in this Mandoverse storytelling. That is still the most intriguing thing to me. I still feel like I can't get enough of it. I can't wait to hear and learn more as we're getting more Mandalorians in the mix, it sounds like. A more detailed flashback to Din Djarin's past is shown, and I still personally have the theory, this could be way off and it could be already proven wrong, but I still have the personal theory that he is from Naboo regarding the surrounding buildings that we continue to see in this flashback. Just a personal theory of mine, but I hope to learn the truth regarding Din's past in this upcoming season, and maybe confirmation of some of those things regarding his past, his childhood, his parents, where he's from, how long he was, or what age he was, I guess, when the Mandalorians came in there and took him. Specifically, I believe it is the Death Watch that took him, but have we gotten confirmation? We probably have. I think in a later chapter, actually, we actually see the signet that's on the shield plate, if you will, of the Mandalorians that save him. So we'll definitely get to that in a later chapter as we're doing this rewatch series. All right, next up, another big takeaway that I took from Chapter 3 was Dr. Pershing being caught performing some experiments on the child with the goal of extracting necessary material from him. Of course, this leads me to ask the question, is there any chance this connects to Snoke / Palpatine / Mount Tantus from the Bad Batch / Thrawn? I certainly think so, and answers, I believe, are coming soon, my friends. I do think we're going to get some subtle teases in this season. Again, with Season 2 being so full of surprises, and Favreau still saying there's more surprises to be had, what bigger surprise could there be than Grogu's midichlorian being extracted by Dr. Pershing, and that somehow impacting Snoke, Palpatine, Mount Tantus, and Thrawn's eventual connection with that in the upcoming Ahsoka series. And that connects to the expanded universe with Thrawn's trilogy, that novel series that I've been reading by Timothy Zahn. Incredible stuff. But yeah, I'm itching for those connections there. Continuing on in the chapter, the Mandalorians come out of hiding to help Din and Grogu escape the guild. I think it is possible for a Mandalorian on Mandalorian battle in Season 3 of Bo-Katan's squad versus the Armorer squad, kind of forcing the Mandalorian's hand at becoming okay with revealing themselves in the galaxy, kind of knowing about them again, and maybe that and I mean, it's going to have to be that way if Bo really wants to reclaim Mandalore's old and great ways. So obviously they're going to have to come out of hiding eventually, but what better to make them come out of hiding than a clan-on-clan battle? That would be certainly awesome. At the end of it all, this is still one of my personal favorite episodes of The Mandalorian to date, and Deborah Chow, the director of this episode, absolutely crushed every single frame, and this episode alone, I completely see how this warranted Deborah Chow getting the Obi-Wan Kenobi series. I just loved every single second of this episode of The Mandalorian. But yeah, those were kind of the big things that I took from Chapter 3 that could possibly connect to a Season 3 of The Mandalorian. Now let's move on to Chapter 4, which was titled Sanctuary, which is definitely, maybe potentially, I know as of so far in our rewatch series, this is the shortest that I could pull from an episode regarding connecting it to this upcoming season. And I really think that has to do with the character that's introduced here. This episode features the introduction of Gina Carano's Cara Dune character. With that said, obviously, with her no longer working for Lucasfilm, there isn't much from this episode that I see carrying over. Obviously, if she was still involved, yeah, regarding her history, her character's past, things like that. But with her kind of out of it, I don't see any connections to that character whatsoever moving forward. I will say, though, I am very curious if Omera, the mother in this episode, will return in the series, since her and Din Djarin definitely had some chemistry, and Din Djarin was definitely tempted to settle down there with Omera, with Grogu, with these citizens on this private farm, until, of course, there was a bounty hunter that showed up from the guild tracking Grogu. So yeah, definitely possible to see Omera. I don't have to see it, but that's just something that crossed my mind as I was watching Chapter 4. I still love this episode, and yeah, those were the two things that I pulled from Chapter 4, but I do still love this episode. It is definitely a pause on this larger story that is brewing, but the classic plot trope of a skilled warrior training and helping a group of locals against a larger threat plays really well in Star Wars, and Bryce Dallas Howard directed it wonderfully, and that's something that I just overall refreshing from these two episodes that we rewatched for this podcast episode. Deborah Chow did absolutely fantastic. Bryce Dallas Howard did absolutely fantastic. Bryce Dallas Howard's episode in the Book of Boba Fett may have been the best episode of the Book of Boba Fett's season, and I believe that was the Din Djarin heavy one, and Deborah Chow obviously then got to explore with Obi-Wan Kenobi in her series. It was just great to see these two wonderful directors in action with these two chapters of The Mandalorian. But there you go, that's it. Those were the two chapters that we had assigned to the schedule. We talked about some news pieces as well, and there you have it. There's our Mando Rewatch edition for this week. It is a shorter form podcast. We're in the 10 to 15 minute range, which means that we crushed it. Well, thank you so much for checking this out. If you want more Mando Talk, make sure you follow us on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok at Mando Talk on all of those platforms. And again, be sure to knock out your bounty instructions of subscribing, rating, all those great things that I mentioned up at the top of this episode to ensure that you're a member of Clan Mando Talk. That's what we kind of call it around here, I think. Maybe I'm just coming up with that, but maybe it'll stick. Join Clan Mando Talk, subscribe to us, rate us, all those great things. Thank you so much for checking us out. Be sure to check out the next Mando Rewatch series episode coming soon as we continue to gear up for The Mandalorian Season 3. And until next time, as always, we have spoken.